Welcome to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette, with your host Steve Garrett, MC and DJ at one of the largest Corvette weekends in the country, Corvette Fun Fest, president of the Corvette Club of Kansas City, Missouri, and radio disc jockey at the #1 radio station in Kansas City for over 40 years. Here's Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. Brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Pursue your passion at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. I appreciate you tuning in. You can listen to Corvette Today on all podcast platforms. You can also listen on your smart device. Just say, Alexa or Hey Google, play the podcast called Corvette Today, and you're connected. Also, visit the Corvette Today website. It's CorvetteTodayPodcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you visit the Corvette Today merchandise store. You can also sign up for Corvette Today emails, notifications, and updates at corvettetoday.ck.page. And don't forget, join the Corvette Today Facebook group. We have over 3,400 members, and I'd love to have you as a member as well. I'm also excited to tell you about the new YouTube channel for Corvette Today. See your favorite Corvette Today podcasts now on YouTube. First, I'd like to thank our flagship sponsors of Corvette Today, Aerolarri Wheels, a true forged wheel with over 20 unique design styles to choose from for your C8 and wide-body versions of the C7, C6, and C5 Corvette. It's an absurd value starting at only $19.88 for a set of 4 fully forged wheels. And now use the new promo code CT111, that's CT111, and get $100 off your purchase. Visit aerolarri.com, that's AEROLARRI.com, with the new promo code CT111 for your $100 discount. Also, Corvette Fever magazine. Corvette Fever has been relaunched with an online and printed version. The online version has incredible interactivity with hidden photos and information, and the printed version is nothing like you've ever seen before, huge and glossy. Get your free online version at CorvetteFeverMag.com. You can also sign up for the printed version there as well. Corvette Fever magazine, come along for the ride. Also, MidEngineCorvetteForum.com, the forum that focuses on the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. Meet a lot of fellow Corvette enthusiasts like yourself at MidEngineCorvetteForum.com. Also, a shout out to CanadianCorvetteForum.com, welcoming Corvette owners from around the world. I'm so excited because this is a monumental podcast. It's show number 100 for Corvette Today. And my guest on the show is a true social media influencer. He's a young car enthusiast, he's a race car driver, a videographer, and an entrepreneur. His YouTube channel has over 154,000 subscribers and over 43 million views. There you'll find content not only on Corvettes, but on many other cars and supercars as well. His name is Austin, but you know him better as Speed Phenom. Austin, welcome to Corvette Today.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on. I'm very excited about this.
I am too. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Austin. First off, talk about yourself, Austin. Where did you grow up and when did you get introduced to cars?
Definitely. Well, I kind of came off an interesting background because it never was really about cars. I actually kind of grew up on farmland, I guess you can say. I had horses in the family, and the first motorized vehicle I pretty much drove, I guess it was a tractor. So later on, what really got me into cars was just playing video games and watching new movies coming out on the TV, like Fast and the Furious and so forth. But what really got me hooked on the whole racing side of things, actually, I had a PlayStation and I got Gran Turismo. With an Xbox later on, I transferred to an Xbox and I got Forza. Video games and movies essentially transformed me from the normal farm-type rural life into being a car enthusiast.
Wow, so you really did not grow up in a car family then, did you?
No. The only sport thing that we ever really did that kind of relates to cars, I guess, was later on. I did try out off-roading with some friends. My family, they got a quad. So that was pretty much it. So no cars, essentially.
Wow, that's amazing. What a neat story. Now, are you still going to school full-time as well, Austin?
Yeah, I'm actually going to a Cal State college, and I am studying, I'm trying to get my degree in business, which is pretty a good coincidence, right?
Right. I would say you're an entrepreneur already, Austin. You've got a big head start in that category for sure.
Thanks, sir. It's pretty funny because some of my professors that are teaching business and how to start a business, they've never started a business before. So it's pretty funny moments here and there. But I try to keep everything low key. I'm going there to get my business management degree. I think it's a very important thing to have a degree in general. And even though I'm running my own business right now, a goal of mine growing up was always to get a college degree. It's funny because the YouTube is actually making it happen because I'm actually paying for my college degree off my YouTube channel.
Talk about your YouTube channel. What motivated you to get going into YouTube?
Well, I've always had a passion for filmmaking and making videos. I worked with a lot of projects with other people I knew, and I've always had another passion, and that was cars. So when I was going on YouTube, I'd see the big car channels back in the day, and I loved watching the videos. I loved seeing them share these performance cars. Honestly, it's basically seeing those dream cars of yours on video and guys enjoying them and taking them to the track. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? So I kind of decided, since I'm good at filming and know how to edit and I like cars, why not combine the two things and just go for it and see what happens? That's basically how that all came to be.
Well, it's gone really darn well, Austin. You are phenomenal at that. Your name on YouTube is very appropriate at Speed Phenom. Talk about how long you've been doing YouTube and how many videos are out there and stuff like that.
I think it's been roughly 4 years now, and I think I've passed 400 videos total.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy because I certainly didn't expect it to grow like it did as fast as it did. And I remember getting like my 10th subscriber, and I was like jumping up in the air going, yeah, I got a 10 subscriber. That's so cool. And then now it's past 150,000, and it's humbling because I'll go somewhere and I'll run into somebody who watches the videos. They'll tell me they bought a Corvette based on me tracking my car. And it's very humbling. And I think the greatest part of it all is it's not really the number of subscribers. It's just getting the chance to meet so many wonderful people like yourself who you get connected with in the car world just based off videos alone.
Thank you, my friend. That was really nice of you to say. I watch your videos and I really get influenced by them. So, Austin, talk more about your YouTube channel. How often do you post content, and what has been the key to your success on YouTube?
Well, it's funny I bring that up because as of lately, I've been starting to produce and upload daily videos. And if I were to look back on the key points of success when it comes to growing a channel and trying to grow it, relatively quickly, I think as long as you stay consistent and you have a plan of, hey, I'm going to update my followers or come out with a new piece of content once every week at a minimum, or maybe just a few times a month, as long as you're consistently putting something out there, I think it really does help with the consistent growth. And the more videos you put out there, as like the more fishing rods you put out in the ocean or in the lake, the more you do, the more people will see you. And I think as long as you don't give up with it, then you will succeed over time. It's with anything in life, I think. If you find something that you're passionate about and you stick with it, you will over time be very professional with it.
Very true. Very true. Wise words from a young man in college and a total success on YouTube. Well, Austin, let's take our first break. And in section number 2, we're going to talk more about your YouTube content and how Corvettes fit into it here on Corvette Today.
VetFinders.com is the Internet's original Corvette classified ads website, with classified ads starting at just $25. And every ad runs until your Corvette is sold. If you're in the market for a Corvette, VetFinders.com has over 500 Corvettes for sale from all around the USA and Canada and covering all 8 generations. Visit VetFinders.com, the Internet's destination for buying and selling Corvettes. That's VETTE Finders.com.
Mid-America Motorworks has been the industry leader and aftermarket supplier and manufacturer of Corvette replacement parts and accessories since 1974. We have what you need for all years and generations of Corvette. Whether you need a door panel or seat cover for your C1 Corvette, or the latest shirt, jacket, hat, or lifestyle accessory to complement your new C8, you can get it at Mid-America Motorworks. So if you're restoring, repairing, replacing, or simply researching your Corvette, Mid-America Motorworks is the place to go. Visit our website at mamotorworks.com and shop Corvettes by generation or specific year. Or call us Monday through Saturday, toll-free at 800-500-1500 and talk to one of our Corvette experts to help you get the right part or accessory. Pursue your passion with Mid-America Motorworks.
This is the Corvette Today podcast with Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. Brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Pursue your passion at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me today is Speed Phenom from YouTube. In the second segment, we're going to talk about Austin's channel on YouTube and how we got into Corvettes. Actually, Corvettes were not your first car passion, isn't that right, Austin? Talk about the car that really got you going on YouTube.
It's pretty interesting because all the original videos essentially on the channel were all Mustang based. And I was one of the biggest Mustang enthusiasts, and I still actually am. I really do miss them because to this day, I've sold the Mustangs I used to have that originated on the channel. But yeah, the Mustangs were great cars because they're affordable vehicles that you can hop right into, and the performance, like the bang for the buck that you get out of them, is just astounding. They're so much fun having a stick shift manual transmission, which you won't find that really anymore. I miss them a lot.
Well, talk about the Mustangs that you still have and any of the Mustangs you plan on getting in the future.
To this day, I actually ended up selling all the Mustangs that I had.
Wow.
I kind of worked my way up through all the models. At one point, I had, I think, 3 different ones. I had the GT350R, I had the GT500, and then a 2014 GT500 Super Snake. But what I noticed over time was that I was getting more and more heavily involved with road course racing. And having my racing license, I did want to try to get more involved with trying these cars out, these Mustangs on the racetrack. And I just got so hooked on them that I found myself not driving the high horsepower Shelbys that I used to have and just mainly favoring the lightweight balanced track car. So over time, I ended up experiencing the best Ford had to offer with the Mustangs, and I loved them, but I just wanted to try something new and different and just change it up.
That sounds good, and it sounds like that was the Corvette. How did you get into Corvettes?
It's funny because that was the Corvette, just looking at it, because seeing the new mid-engine Corvette, it blew my mind. I'll be honest, I don't think I would have had a Corvette prior to the C8. I do really love the C7 body style. It's nice, but it never quite called my name where I told myself I had to get that car. And when I saw the C8, it really did do everything for me because it was a mid-engine, affordable sports car. And the body design, the style of it was kind of Ferrari-ish and then Lamborghini-ish with the hard lines. And just the thought of having an American 500 horsepower car, essentially, that's mid-engine on the racetrack with a dual-clutch transmission, I told myself I have to have it. That was my next major goal, was to get my first Corvette.
Amen to that, buddy. Amen to that. Talk about the Corvettes that you've owned, Austin, and which ones are you planning to get in the future? Because we've got a lot of great C8 variants coming up.
So to this day, I just checked the box for the second Corvette, which is I feel really proud of, but I know I'm nowhere near the legendary lists that you see all over the internet. Guys having like 30, 40, 50 of them or more, maybe someday in the future. Starting originally, I got my 2020 C8 Corvette. When I got that car, it was right before the GM plant shutdown happened. And I got that vehicle, and then I drove it across the country for the National Corvette Museum, and I could not stop tracking it. I went to Laguna Seca, Willow Springs, everywhere with it. I put 26,000+ miles on it, and then I sold it to CarMax. I didn't lose any money either, which is a funny part. But then I transitioned into a second C8 Corvette, and that was a C8R edition. Somehow got number 8, which is crazy. So I've got C8R number 0008. Insane how you think about it. C8, C8R8. But yeah, 2 Corvettes now.
That's awesome. Now, like we talked about in the introduction, your YouTube channel delves into just more than Mustangs and Corvettes. You've got other cars and supercars. Talk about some of the other cars that you've got and featured on your YouTube channel.
So the other performance car that I actually own, it's a McLaren 600 LT. And I got that car because it was essentially the lightest mid-engine supercar you could really buy for the money. Being carbon fiber tub and having tons of carbon components, the vehicle actually weighs less than 3,000 pounds with a full tank of gas. So if you picture that having a 600 horsepower twin-turbo V8, I got hooked on it. So that is why the first mid-exotic supercar I got was a McLaren, simply because of the formula McLaren uses when it comes to building their vehicles with all the carbon fiber and how raw they are, being rear-wheel drive and so lightweight. But on the channel, I actually try to really show to everybody what all these new and latest performance cars can do on the road and the racetrack. So this past year, essentially, we've had the chance to share tons of amazing videos testing out the best the world has to offer, essentially. Just a week and a half ago, got out of the new Huracan Super Trofeo Omologato, which is their STO model. And that car was insane. But not just that, this past year, we've tested out the $1.7 million McLaren Elva, the Ferrari Pista, the F8. I'm trying to go more in the direction of like what you see on Top Gear and so forth, sharing the latest and greatest performance cars, whether they're exotics from Italy or Germany or they're American. I want to bring everybody the best content possible. And me being a car enthusiast, I'm not particular when it comes to any one specific brand. Like, I'll never be Mustangs till the end of time or Camaros to the end of time. I really like to keep an open mindset to experience as many different cars as possible, because what I originally learned was that, I'll be honest, originally when I first got Mustangs, I was like, Mustangs are nothing. I was so hooked on it. But then I gave other cars a chance, like Corvette and then just other vehicles in general, and I got hooked on it. It's kind of like, why stick to one flavor of ice cream when you can try them all? So on the channel, I'm really trying to share with everybody the best content possible with the best vehicles that the world has to offer on the track and on the road.
Are there some cars that you want to get on the channel that are coming up in the near future?
I would say that the one car I want to pick up, the next big purchase that I want to get more than anything right now is a new Corvette Z06. I want to get that car. I cannot wait to see what it can do on the racetrack. So that is my number one pick. I can't wait, because tracking my current C8 everywhere in my previous C8, I love the way Chevrolet has put together this vehicle. And it's funny because getting out of even a Ferrari and other Italian cars that cost 2-3 times the price, it blows my mind how good of a package the C8 is. Yes, it doesn't have the acceleration of like a 48 or those other 700 horsepower supercars. The new Z06 and the next Z models to come will be the official next level performance ones to take down those exotics. So that is why I'm very excited about it. But then after that, I want to try to get a SF90 in the more long-term type goal. But it's pretty expensive. That's a long-term goal.
I like those as well, buddy. I like those for sure. Well, Austin, let's take our final break. And in segment number 3, we're going to talk about your other social media coming up here on Corvette Today.
American Hydrocarbon is your one-stop shop for custom interior, exterior, and engine bay items for your C4 through C8 Corvette. We can help you create a custom look for your Corvette with carbon fiber or 10 different color patterns and styles. Whether it's a custom-made engine cover for your new C8 mid-engine Corvette or custom-made C4 interior upgrades, American Hydrocarbon can help you transform your Corvette into a best-in-class show car. And now we're proud to announce that we can produce and distribute officially licensed GM products for the C8 Corvette. That includes the front splitter, side skirts, engine appearance panels, and engine fluid caps. Plus, we now also carry the C8 Speedline side skirts along with the engine appearance package and high wing. Our products have been featured in Vet and Corvette magazines. Give us a call, 813-476-5638. Visit our updated website at AmericanHydrocarbon.com or email us at pat@AmericanHydrocarbon.com. Let us help you make your Corvette the car you've always wanted it to be. American Hydrocarbon.
Hey, honey, are you awake?
I am now.
I can't sleep. Since turning 50, I keep dreaming of a red door and a blue door, somehow knowing there are only choices for retirement.
Okay.
Through the red door, we outlive our money. We have to rely on our kids. We're stuck on a fixed income. It's terrifying.
Yeah, that would suck.
But through the blue door, our money outlives us. We retire on our terms. Our kids stay our kids, not our caretakers. We make work optional.
Yes, that's much better. That's what I want too. But what do we do?
We call True Wealth & Company at 913-653-8783. They specialize in helping successful people make work optional. They're our fiduciary Blue Door personal wealth managers.
Hey, where are you going? It's 3 a.m.
I can't sleep. I'm going to check out True Wealth & Company online at retirewithtrue.com. That Blue Door is going to be our retirement.
913-653-8783. Visit us online at retirewithtrue.com. Investment advice offered through True Wealth & Company, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas.
And now, back to Corvette Today with your host and my husband, Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks once again for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette, brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Pursue your passion at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me today is Speed Phenom from YouTube. In this third and final segment, we're going to talk more about his YouTube channel and other social media outlets. Austin, when you started making YouTube videos, you didn't have any previous experience. Talk about the learning curve that you had in learning how to make these videos and editing them.
Well, when I first started YouTube, the biggest learning curve, I guess you can say, was getting on camera. You can imagine how awkward that can be, going to a car show or car meet and having a camera at your face. Imagine what people might think of you. They're looking at you with those weird faces, and you can just smile back. But over time, what I've learned with the learning curve is that the more you do it, the more comfortable you will be. I'll be honest, I'm still not the most comfortable at talking in front of people on camera, but I'm getting better and better. The key is when I'm doing it, I'm just getting tunnel vision and looking straight at the lens and ignoring everybody else. That was the biggest learning curve. The rest of it, I've realized over time, you don't need to overthink it. Because originally, you could come at YouTube and go, man, I don't have a crazy camera. I don't have a really nice computer. I can't make a video and do a thumbnail and edit through Photoshop. Don't even really worry about that. Focus on the story you're trying to tell and the message that you want to come across. And you can film a video with your iPhone or a Samsung phone and share the car you want to share, or just talk about the subject you want to talk about, and don't overthink it, because you got to realize it's YouTube. You're not watching a top quality movie. You can just go at it, have fun, and don't overthink it.
Yeah, you're right. It's not network television, it's YouTube. Buddy, also, a lot of your YouTube videos, you're tracking cars, and I know that that's your passion. Talk about what it takes to film those sessions and tracking all these cars.
That's a good one. That's a really good question, because I'll be honest, tracking cars is the most expensive thing that I do on the channel for cost to do. That is the one thing when it comes to vehicles that I get the most enjoyment out of. And even though it takes a lot of effort going to the racetrack and driving out one of these vehicles a couple hours to a specific track, let's say Willow Springs, for example, getting out there, you got to pay like roughly $200 or so for a track day. And then you have like 4 sessions out there to yourself or with other people on track to just get better as a driver. So when I'm shooting videos at the racetrack, I do try really hard to capture the experience in the best way possible. So I have microphones going to the exhaust and POV angles to try to bring other people into the driver's seat, because I know so many people out there who have a Corvette on order or another performance car, and they want to see what their car can do actually being used to its limit, being properly revved out and cornered hard, because on the street you can't do that. That's one thing that I do love, sharing these experiences on the racetrack. But again, yeah, they are very, very expensive. But if you find the right car, though, I must say it gets easier. So when I was tracking my 2020 GT 500 track pack, that car had like 760 horsepower, a supercharged big V8. I was going through a full gas tank every 20-minute session, and that adds up in California. So like hundreds and hundreds of bucks just for gas. The Corvette and so forth being naturally aspirated, having less horsepower and being lighter, you can actually last longer on the racetrack with endurance of not running out of gas as quickly, or with brakes lasting longer. If you were to guess how many track days I can get out of a single set of brake pads on the McLaren, what would you think, Steve?
I don't know. What would it be?
So I put on steel brakes. I pull off the carbons because they're so expensive.
Yep.
But I'm getting 15 track days out of one set of pads. And the pads only cost me $1,000 for a full set. So back to my point earlier, if you find the right car that's lightweight and is not going to hurt you over time, paying for the expenses, tracking will be fun and it's exciting.
That's cool. Now, you mentioned Laguna Seca and you mentioned Willow Springs. Have you been to any other tracks, and what cars have you tracked that you like the best?
So the only other, I've been to a lot of tracks, actually, if I can name them off. I've been to Thermal, Chuckwalla, Willow Springs, Laguna Seca. I've been to Coda, and I'm sure others at Auto Club Speedway. It keeps going on. But my favorite track that I've been to was Coda in Texas. I liked the $3 a gallon, 93 octane versus the 520, 91 octane in California. That's a deal with. If I were to look at the cars that I like the best on track, it might sound biased, but obviously I love the Corvette on track. I love my McLaren 600 LT. And I've learned over time that it's one of those things where if you properly set up a vehicle, you can really take it much further than the stock performance that you see online. Because when I was buying the 600 LT, for example, they were saying how the car was right around the same speed as, like, let's say, the GT3 RS. But I learned that getting the car, putting track camber on it, and properly getting used to its limit, I'm actually getting the same lap times as a 720S in a 600 LT with stock power, but with 3 degrees of camber and a bit wider tires. I'm only about like a second to 2 seconds off like the 765 LT on a lot of tracks too. So it shows you that you can actually take cars further than what you see online, and you can find a car that you find the most enjoyment out of and get faster and faster with it. My favorite all-time track car, though, that I have driven is a 600 LT, but my second favorite exotic that I drove on track, I would honestly say, is the 488 Pista Ferrari. That car has 710 horsepower, and I drove with the Cup 2 Rs, the same tires that the new Z06 will have. They're about $4,000. It wasn't my car, so I got to enjoy that experience, but man, the brutal dual clutch gear changes in that car blew my mind.
That's amazing. I'd love to get into a Pista. That would be so much fun. Austin, talk about some of your favorite videos that you've done, and where do you come up with these ideas for the videos?
My all-time favorite videos, I would have to say, are the adventures. I really live for the adventures. So getting the opportunity to fly out to like the National Corvette Museum, that's like a dream right there. And I know so many people who even listen to your podcast would agree, like going to the National Corvette Museum and taking delivery of your car there and driving across country, seeing what this nation has to offer. Those memorable experiences, I really live for that. When I was getting my CA Corvette, I took it to Pikes Peak in the snow. That made for some great content. But yeah, really the journeys. And not just that, a lot of the stuff that happens behind the camera, just setting up these videos for the journeys, are extremely memorable. So I think in general, though, yeah, just getting out there and going to the track or going across this country in these crazy new performance cars makes for the best footage and experiences to share.
I would agree, my friend. Definitely agree. Austin, I really think that you're a social media influencer. Talk about some of your other social media outlets besides YouTube.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate the kind words. I'm not sure if it's said enough, but you're honestly a very nice guy to talk to, even through your podcasts and so forth. But you come off very just genuine and a proper Corvette enthusiast. I just had to add that real quick. Looking at it, I mainly focus on YouTube, but I do have a secondary outlet on Instagram that I really use to try to stay more in contact with everyone, right? Car events and fellow owners and enthusiasts, because it's a really good networking tool to stay in touch. If any of you had any questions on what it takes to track to see a Corvette or trying to find a good dealer to work with for a new Z06 and so forth, I'm really happy to try to answer any questions possible that I know the answer to through Instagram and so forth. So mainly my focus on coverage and content is the YouTube page, Speed Phenom, but the secondary side of things that helps me get more personal with everybody is Instagram.
Austin, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Corvette Today. This is episode number 100, so it's a monumental episode, and I couldn't have had a better person on episode 100 than you.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, I feel very honored for episode 100. You can't get much better than that. But I'm excited for you to hit episode 200, 300, and just continuing to see your outlet grow. So thank you very much for having me on, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It was a privilege to be able to talk with you, Steve, and everyone else listening.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, and please be sure to tell your family, friends, and other Corvette enthusiasts about the Corvette Today podcast. And also thanks to our flagship sponsors, Mid-America Motorworks. Pursue your passion at mamotorworks.com. American Hydrocarbon at AmericanHydrocarbon.com, True Wealth and Company at RetireWithTrue.com. Also, Aerolarri Wheels, get $100 off your purchase with the new promo code CT111 at Aerolarri.com.
You've been listening to Corvette Today with Steve Garrett. If you'd like to contact Steve with any thoughts on the podcast or ideas for guests on Corvette Today, you can email him at stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. That's stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Garrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. Or connect with Steve on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using @SteveGarrettDJ. Thanks again for listening to Corvette Today.